Hello, everyone, and welcome to this blooloop innovation session brought to you by our friends at Triotech and NWave. So welcome to all you guys. Good to see you.
Hi, Charles.
Good stuff. And welcome to all our viewers from around the world. We've got people from New York, New Zealand, Canada, North Devon, where I am as well.
We have to answer poll questions. Okay.
Good stuff. So just initially a couple of sort of housekeeping points for our viewers. Feel free to ask questions. You can put questions in the question box. It's worthwhile checking first that they've not already been asked. You can vote up questions as well. So we'll get to the questions later in the session. Also, please feel free to respond to some of the polls, and the polls at the bottom as well. And on the right, you can see the chat box, which is a good place to say hi and say hey, where you're from and so on. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to our four fantastic speakers today. They are Ernest Yale, President of Triotech, Terry Monkton of Simworx, Tej Sunder of Cavera Partners, and Mathieu Gondinet from NWave Pictures. So great to see you all, guys. I thought we'd start off, first of all, with an initial question. So if you could each tell us, first of all, who you are and what you do, a bit of background, a minute about your company, so people who don't know your companies get a good introduction. So Ernest, you can go first.
Yeah, hi, I'm Ernest Yale. I'm the founder of Triotech. I started the company about 20 years ago. So basically, we bring technology, video game technology, to out-of-home entertainment. So we do rides, theaters, dark rides, dark coasters, interactive theaters all over the world for the last 20 years. And I'm originally a game programmer, and I'm CEO of the company now and travel around the world. Well, not this year, but usually to open our attractions and understand the market better. And that's what we do at Triotech, and we really enjoy what we do every day.
Cool, fantastic. And Mathieu? Mathieu?
I think he has sound issues.
I think he does. Well, let's go with Tej, and Mathieu can tell us in a moment. Tej?
Well, hi, everybody. My name is Tej Sunder. I'm one of the partners at Kuvera Partners. We have been in the attraction business since 1965. We currently have 14 attractions across 4 markets. We're in Hollywood, California, Branson, Missouri, Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and our 6 brands are the Hollywood Wax Museum, which is the best known, Aquarium at the Boardwalk, which was opened in late 2020, Outbreak, Dread the Undead, Castle of Chaos, 70 Theaters, Hannah's Maze and Mirrors, Shoot for the Stars Mini Golf. So the attraction business is in our blood, and we love this industry.
Fantastic. And we've got, as I say, we've got some speakers we've got a cosmopolitan crowd from very glamorous tropical locations. We've got Tej in California. We've got Ernest there in the Keys in Florida, and more exciting and glamorous than all those, we've got Terry in West Midlands in the UK. So, Terry.
Good afternoon, everyone. There's lots to be glamorous about the West Midlands of the UK. Well, I'm Terry Monkton. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Simworx. Been involved in the industry since 1997. And our company Simworx, we design and manufacture a whole range of media-based attractions, from 4D cinemas, flying theaters, immersive tunnels, lots of dynamic simulation rides, big exporters, particularly across Europe, Far East, Middle East. And that's me in a nutshell.
Fantastic. And Mathieu, can you hear us yet? I think Matt's having sound problems. Hey, can you hear us, Matt?
But I can talk a bit about NWave, because I've worked with Ben Stafford originally years ago. So NWave is probably
sorry. Do you hear me?
Go ahead.
Yes, because I cannot hear Charles. So sorry, but I guess it's
just
my turn
about to tell how great you are. So now you can.
Okay, thank you so much. Just to introduce the company. So my name is Mathieu Gondinet. I'm the CEO of NWave, and NWave is a movie production company in the business for 25 years. So we produce and distribute feature films and short films for the theme park industry and the giant screen industry in 3D or animation movies. And most of the people here, many of the people are clients to us, dear clients to us. And we tend to produce the best possible quality of 3D content for the industry.
Fantastic. So I thought we'd start off by just looking at, in the deep, dark days of the early days of the pandemic last year, how it initially impacted your own businesses. So, Terry, perhaps you could tell us about what happened at Simworx.
Yeah, sure. Well, we went into the pandemic with a really big order book, but given the way that the COVID impacted the industry, we found quite a lot of that was put on hold. But we found towards the back end of the year that a lot of that quite a bit of it started to unlock. So we're able to work on a number of projects still, particularly from the last quarter of the year and going forward into this year. There are a few changes we made. We decided to sort of be proactive. We decided to increase our sales force. We added 4 new sales representatives around the world and developed a couple of products for new markets as we went along, which we're looking forward to release in the coming months, particularly aimed for a lot of our attractions that we've developed recently have been large scale attractions for theme parks, but we have 2 new products coming out this year, which are designed specifically for the family entertainment center and the retailment markets.
Okay, cool. And Ernest, how did Triotech react as soon as the pandemic hit? How were the first few months?
I mean, so Triotech is a bit different. That we do arcade games, FEC products, and we have also larger amusement park projects. We have $10 million and more projects, and we have $25,000 machines. So the FEC projects have been really, the machines have more or less stopped. We had more than 200 orders of the latest generation of Storm Simulator. Pretty much nobody canceled the machines, but everything was on hold because obviously everything went into lockdown. So it was very hard. Obviously, we had a lot of projects that were worked on. So we had all of our employees leave the office, work from home. We had to upgrade computers. We had to do a lot of things so we can all work better together, and worked very well. We were able to progress in the different projects. We have about 10 major projects around the world right now, and because some of the projects were delayed, like example Legoland in Goshen, New York, Knott's Berry Tales in Los Angeles, and other projects. We took our engineering staff and we developed a new product, which I can't talk about it today, but it's super exciting. And we were able to sell 2 of the first ones, which are being built right now. So we went into a very proactive mode, and we're very hard, obviously, for like everyone in the beginning of COVID.
Right. Okay. And Tej, you're sort of on the other side of the fence in that you're actually running and managing attractions. So it must have hit you guys hard. So what were the first few months of the pandemic like for you?
Yeah, because we're in 4 markets, it really impacted each of the markets differently. So, for example, in Branson, Missouri, we were closed for a total of 57 days. As everybody on this call, they know that really hurts. But even worse, in Hollywood, California, for example, we've actually been closed 375 days. Exciting news, we will be opening tomorrow. So as soon as I get off this phone call, I'm going to be running over moving wax figures. But so we're excited that we're finally opening, but it was very, very tough. And when we did open, there's a ton of restrictions. So for example, when we open tomorrow, we only have 25% of our capacity, which makes it very difficult to kind of hit that sweet spot in revenue. But you know what? None of us are complaining. It was tough. We had to furlough a lot of our frontline staff, but we made sure to keep up all their medical throughout the pandemic because that just didn't sit well with us. We also did weekly check-ins. So we called every one of our employees when they were off every week just to see how they were doing, to make sure their spirits were up, talk them through. If they needed help, we helped them. The good thing of that all is the minute we opened, every single person came back. So we didn't have a lull in any of our staffing. So when we are opening tomorrow, we invited our team back and they said, we're there. So we were really lucky that we kept connected with our staff, because really that's the lifeblood of our organization.
Cool. And and Terry, how are you moving to today? How are you operating differently to sort of cope with the ongoing situation? How has it changed your day-to-day operations?
Day to day, we moved very quickly to working from home, which we had systems set up. We sort of all use Microsoft Teams to stay in communication. The production department, whilst on hold for initially a few months when we went into lockdown, sort of picked back up probably in about month 4 due to releasing some projects that were on hold, and fortunately winning some new projects at the back end of the year. So the production team and project managers have been going into the company and supported by the office people remotely, going into the office where we need to go in the office, but under sort of COVID safe restrictions, wearing masks in public areas. We moved desks apart, etc. So that's pretty much how we've been able to operate on a day-to-day. We are moving now back towards full office working. We have staff going in from I think two days per week as from next month, with the aim to be fully back in the office in June.
Okay, cool. And Mathieu, can you hear me okay, yeah?
Yes, I can. Sorry for that. It's okay. I'm back. Sorry.
No, good stuff. A couple of questions initially. How did the pandemic impact you guys initially, the first few months?
Yeah, as everybody said, it was tough, but we saw the wave coming because of China slowing down end of 2019. So we had to keep with the social distancing measures, and we saw a huge drop in revenues, as everybody here today. But the good thing is in what we do at NWave is that most of movies are animation movies. So we can still produce in spite of the virus, in spite of social distancing measures. We were able to put in place some home office pipeline. So we were able to keep producing, and this is what we managed to do so far. And of course,
how is your sort of day-to-day operations now changed from before the pandemic?
Yeah, so the day-to-day operation has changed. So we try to have a part of the staff working remotely, part of the staff in the studio, and we try to change one week to another so that people can come back to the office, because it's important to have a sense of gathering at the studio in Brussels. So we try to do that, and of course we try to help our clients, because one of the biggest impact that we had is that we had to deal with issues for the clients, because as stage many operations closed overnight, and we wanted to be with our clients and to try to accommodate them as much as we could, because we knew that it would be tough.
So, and Tej, coming from the operations side of the business, and you recently opened the aquarium at the Boardwalk in Missouri. Tell us a little bit about how opening an attraction has been different and challenging in the pandemic.
Well, I think everybody knows opening an aquarium at any time is difficult. You throw yourself into a pandemic, and I think it's 5 times worse. So it was really difficult, but we kept our head down, and we were luckily opening. We were able to open November 23rd of last year. Some of the things we did a little different. For example, we actually have a Triotech ride that starts our whole experience off. And so we got on the phone right away with Ernest's team and said, hey, how do we keep pushing people through an experience, but follow CDC guidelines? And they immediately, within 2 weeks, created environments where we put up plastic panels between each of the seat, which allowed us to sit people in clusters of 2 as long as they're in the same group. So we did things like that. We then also worked with partners like Acesso Ticketing. We moved to their passport program, which allowed us to do time ticketing. So instead of having a big lineup out the front door, we were able to pre-purchase tickets so that people weren't in big groups. We found out that helped really well, and it also dispersed people throughout the day rather than coming at 1 o'clock, which we all see in the industry. We also created kind of a kiosks in each of our lobbies. So people did want to come in, but they didn't want to have that interaction with our staff. We did have kiosks that were set up. So we did all this, systematic things that everybody did because of CDC guidelines. But these were some of the other things that we implemented to not only help us today, but kind of looking into the future.
So you can see there how the pandemic has really accelerated some kind of change. So in terms of online booking and managing the flow of visitors to the attraction, that's a positive thing that's come out of the pandemic, I guess.
You know, it has shortened the timeline. So my mother now gets on DoorDash, which she wouldn't have in 30 years. And what that does is it pushes people in these directions. So that's one of the things we heavily invested on our online presence, because we knew that was going to fast track demand. We went to the complete cloud environment so that people could react, because people are used to Amazon and they expect that from everybody else now, that quick turnover, that quick ticket. So we had to invest in the downtime, kind of like what Ernest was saying. We had to reinvest in ourselves when we were closed and put that focus there, so that when we did reopen, we could kind of pivot quicker. And that seemed to have helped. So we're trying to find the good in this, you know, horrible, horrible time for us all.
Cool. And in terms of, again, I suppose it's a last question about your specific businesses. Terry, what are you working on right now that you can tell us about? Oh, can't hear you, Terry.
I toggled the mute. Apologies about that. We're working on a few projects. We're working on a dual immersive tunnel ride, which has been somewhat customized to almost incorporate a sort of slight variant of a flyover experience, where you have two immersive tunnels back to back, but with much higher screens than we'd normally have in an immersive tunnel, to provide a flyover experience. And in fact, we're working with NWave, who are supplying the media for this ride, entitled The Extraordinary Journey. We have a large project involving 4 20-meter train carriages, which are all being kitted out with a whole range of motion seats, special effects. Each window in the carriage is actually an LED screen, which contributes towards the story. And at various stages during the ride, the whole side of the carriage opens up to reveal another big, huge projection screen to further contribute towards the story. Another one I really quite like we're working on is a lovely park in Norway, where we're doing a 4D motion ride based around one of the local characters there. And I think you'll start to see a few things across digital and social media for this ride in the coming days. It's a really wonderful attraction.
Fantastic. And Ernest, Tej mentioned the Cavera Theater, so tell us more about that. And also,
yeah, I mean, we really
give us a hint about the thing you can't tell us about.
Yeah. So we, you know, with Tej, we worked on. You guys can hear me well?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So with Tej, we worked on the aquarium on 2 theaters. So there's a 16 and 18 seat. He can talk about it, but it gives us more flexibility. And there's really a great new custom content that was developed, that we developed with them. But I think it gives him flexibility in the future to maybe show 2 movies or have smaller groups. And in discussing with him, I think that's going to be a trend in the future. A lot of our locations now have 2 or 3 smaller theaters rather than having a big one. So what can I tell you about the project? A lot of the stuff is secret, but obviously we have 3 large projects in the US. Knott's Berry Tales. I'm going to California next week. Knott's Berry Tales is a ride from 1975 to 1986, which we reinvented with the team at Knott's, and it's going to open hopefully in May. So I'm going there. I'm going to go there. It's really going to be one of our best attractions. Legoland Goshen, New York, which is going to open the next few months. So we have Vinpearl in Vietnam, the first full dark ride in Vietnam. Hainan Ocean Park, which is a dark ride. We have multiple projects in China. We signed 2 major projects in Korea. One thing I think a trend is with the new product, which I can't talk about it specifically. It's not going to amusement parks. One of them is going into a shopping mall, and the other one in a tourist, kind of like a boardwalk attraction, a major ride, which usually would be in an amusement park. So that's going to be very interesting. Local tourism, people going to their local attraction to have an experience similar to what they see on a smaller scale, obviously, but to what they see at Universal or Disney. So I think that's going to be a huge market for us, you know, for Terry, for NWave, and hopefully Tej is going to open all of these attractions all over the world, especially all over the US.
Cool, good stuff. And Mathieu, and tell us more about the NWave Online experience, because I know you've revamped that a lot since the pandemic started.
Yeah, absolutely. That's something what we wanted to do. So we launched a streaming platform to let our institutional clients dispatch content to their end users, because, you know, we work with museums, with zoos and aquariums, and we wanted that to let them offer content to their public of schools or educational people in spite of the closure. So yeah, it's something that we really wanted to do. And the other thing, we wanted to keep a production flow. So we, in spite of the crisis and in spite of everything, we really maintained our investments in new productions, new films that we are going to announce very, very soon, whether for the giant screen industry, or whether for the theme parks, or for the regular theater. So we try to develop a new ride simulation movie based on a quite well-known video game franchise that we are going to announce soon. Not yet, but soon. So yeah, we really try to maintain our investments.
Cool. And Tej, what are you focused on right now? I know the aquarium opened recently, but you're developing that whole area, aren't you?
Yeah, so we secured 13.5 acres right on the strip of Branson, Missouri. We started the whole development's called Branson Boardwalk. Phase 1 included aquarium at the boardwalk. That was about a $55 million investment. We still have 4 additional phases on that property. So we're really encouraged by the numbers that are coming through the aquarium. So as we supplement and add new attractions, complement that and start clustering the experiences, we think there's a lot going on there. Branson has had a lot of growth. They saw right before the pandemic close to 9 million visitors, which is great for a secondary market. And we've been really excited so far with the results for the first 3 or 4 months of the aquarium.
Cool, good stuff. So we'll move on to some questions we've had sent in. So the first one is, do you think people will be reluctant to come back to theme parks and attractions? So Terry, perhaps if you start with that one.
No problem at all. No, I don't believe they will. I think that what the pandemic has made people realise is how much they miss places like theme parks and other visitor attractions. And having seen how these places have set them up to be COVID secure, safe, with social distancing for as long as that needs to be done. I absolutely believe that people are dying to go to theme parks and visitor attractions, and as soon as they're allowed to, they will absolutely be going there.
And Tej, from your perspective, how have you seen interest in going to the attractions at the moment?
Yeah, so we have a real life barometer. I can only speak to attractions themselves because they are fundamentally different from theme parks, but I think both are going to have a really successful 2021. In the 3 markets that are open, we're seeing really strong numbers. So we're really encouraged about this summer. You have to remember 2 things though. One, the markets that are open in the US for us are drive markets. So I think people are very comfortable driving to a location and still unknown about the flying. So that's one advantage of those markets. The other is none of those 3 markets rely heavily on international clientele. So when we do open Hollywood tomorrow, we're really going to see what kind of impact that has. There's a hunch on my side, though, that even though the international travel won't be there necessarily day one, I do believe you're going to have a lot of staycations. You will have a lot of interstate travel, close travel that will supplement that because they can't go overseas or they're not going overseas. So I do believe, in the short term, we're seeing success, but I'm very bullish on the second half of 2021 from the attraction standpoint. And, the proof's in the pudding already. We're already seeing people want out-of-home entertainment immediately. They're tired and they're trying to get out of their front rooms, playing their video games into a real environments and interaction. So we're quite excited and we're geared up. But I think one of the points is make sure that your customers feel safe. As far as complaints, we have some people that are complaining around the masks, but exponentially more if those mask rules aren't upheld or the spacing isn't upheld. And when your customers feel safe, they're going to tell other people and they'll be more inclined to come out. So I think be more rigid on the protecting the customers, because ultimately I think that pays out in the long term.
Absolutely. And also Nathan in the chat mentioned, he said it seems like regional parks are leading the way and attracting visitors back, and I can believe that. I think what you say is right, Tej. Staycations are the way ahead. Certainly in the UK, we're not allowed to travel right now. I would say.
No, not without certain restrictions where you have to sort of quarantine. But we're on the travel ban corridors for many countries. In fact, it's causing a few issues really with regards to traveling for sales, traveling for installations, etc. But we managed to find ways to overcome those difficulties.
And we've got Brexit added on top of that to make it even more easier. So
all new rules on VAT and import duties that we're having to find out at, and to our cost every now and then.
Exactly. And Mathieu, what's been your feeling about people from your clients, about people coming back to attractions?
I strongly believe that people will come back to attractions because, after 1 year stuck at home watching TV or Netflix, I think that people will want to just go outside and have fun and enjoy outside life. And it's true that at the beginning, we were a bit afraid, okay, will people have new habits of entertainment? Will they prefer to stay at home to enjoy digital content? But I don't think so. I think based on my personal experience and based on what I see from the industry, I think that people will just want to have fun again as before. And when I see the US studios resuming theatrical releases for movies, I think it's good signs. So I think that people will have they will want to have fun, basically.
Cool. And Ernest, same question to you.
Yeah, look, I'll give you a personal experience. Yeah, for the last 3 days, I'm in Florida, so I was traveling, meeting customers and partners. I was in Orlando yesterday, 7 p.m. So I went to Icon, the Ferris wheel, and I went to Andretti. Both of them have a Triotech 7D theater, so just I wanted to see the attraction. I was actually very, very surprised. Very surprised. Obviously, young people, families. I posted a video on my Facebook. I'm going to send the video to Charles. Maybe you can share it. So lineups of people, everybody respecting the distance, everybody wearing a mask, but there was about 15 to 20 people waiting for the Triotech theater. Both Andretti and the Icon were full of people. The arcade games were full. It's spring break, granted, but on a Wednesday, 7 p.m., I've been there 20 times probably. It's as busy as ever, and probably busier for a weekday than ever. I went to the outlets also to buy some stuff, but also just to gauge. Clearly, usually you see a lot of, Asian tourists from, Asia. And so that component wasn't there, but it was, I would say, 70 to 80% full at the outlets there in Orlando. People, people are slowly returning to the routine of what they like, and people, I just enjoyed it. Obviously, I had a mask all the time, even outdoors at the outlet. You forget about it after a few minutes. You just enjoy yourself. So it's as Tej said, the proof is in the pudding. So people were there, at least yesterday. So I'm very, very confident.
Fair enough. Another very practical question for you, Terry, first. How will COVID impact the design of rides and attractions? An example would be with museum exhibits, touchscreens are out. So touchscreens have been ripped out of lots of museums. So what's happening in rides?
Of course, yeah. And I can be totally honest and say that we're not changing our approach of how we're not going to modify our existing rides. When we're building and designing new rides, we're not making anything different because we believe that a COVID world will be over this year. And there are certain things that you can do with one of our attractions, of course, with spacing, doing a number of seats within the attraction. 3D glasses always get cleaned by operators between shows. There is some really good cleaning equipment out there for VR headsets, etc., so they can be sanitized between uses. So there's certainly things that can be done in the short-term period, but I wouldn't say that we're making any radical changes to change our product range because of COVID, because our expectations is that this will be behind us, hopefully sooner rather than later.
Fair enough. And Ernest, yourself?
Yeah, I think I agree with Terry. I think we have to be careful in designing things for COVID specifically. But if you look at, for instance, cleanliness with the glasses, and Asia, Japan, and went through SARS in 2003. So when I was traveling to Japan, I noticed that their hygiene level for cleaning was already much, to a much more advanced level. than let's say in Europe or the US. So I think what has been put in place now will stay. But obviously, the reason we're going on multi-people attraction is we want to be with people. So we can't design attractions that, we're only 5 people in a huge room. Otherwise people are going to stay at home and play on a game online. So people want this connection. They want to be with their friends, their family. So that up close feeling of being on an Ninjago vehicle where you're 4 people apart, together, is what people are looking for. And obviously there's technologies like Triotech. We have the hand gesture technology in Ninjago where you do like the karate moves. So that's going to stay and that can help. But again, we're not going to design things. We're not designing right now things for like just COVID because we feel that, obviously in the US, a lot of people have been vaccinated all over the place already. So a high percentage of vaccination. So I think this should be hopefully over by the end of summer in terms of the fear of COVID and all of that. And, countries like Israel are huge majority are been vaccinated. The UK has done very well as well. Others are behind, but, it's going to catch up. And countries are lending vaccines to other countries. I know the US is lending vaccines to Canada because we're a bit behind in Canada. So people are helping each other. I mean, that's the approach to have, hopefully, right now.
Cool. Right. We're going to turn now to some questions that have been sent in by people watching this webinar right now. So the first up is a very practical one. Will this session be available afterwards? The answer is yes, it will. You can use the same link to watch this this session at a later date. So that's that one done. A question for Mathieu. Could you tell us of the changes in the Cineplex market and how that compares to the attractions market for NWave?
Yeah, for us, what changes is that we try to have a more balanced portfolio of content, 3D and 2D, because we think that some people in some territories might be a bit reluctant to wearing headsets because of what we said about hygiene measures, etc. But most importantly, we really think that in terms of content, there will be a strong premium to new productions. Because after 1 year without going to FECs, to zoos, aquarium, museum, or theme parks, once people come back, they want to see something new. They don't want to watch the same movie. I think that there is going to be a premium for novelty, new films, new experiences, so to speak.
We've seen everything on Netflix and Amazon Prime. There's nothing else.
It's only human. Yeah, it's only human. After 1 year, you want to have something new. So if you go to an FEC, maybe you want to go to a new attraction. Or if you go to the same attraction, maybe you want to leave something new and watch a new movie, for instance. So I think the premium for novelty would be key.
Cool, that's that one answered. Okay, next question is, Tej, if you can take this one. Have you got any marketing advice for operators who are reopening?
That's a really good question. That's one we're struggling with. One of our biggest concerns going into the pandemic was around marketing, and we had to scale a lot of that back just to kind of play the odds. If we were going to be open, we wouldn't do as well, but if we were closed, we had to pull a lot back, and that could save some funds moving forward. And our partners were very understanding through that process. We are rolling out heavily on the digital side, so we can kind of dip our toe in there because we've missed a lot of the cutoffs for this coming season because the pandemic extended. So right now we're 100% focused on the digital side to see what that brings up. We've also focused a lot on the social side. So those are the two key pieces we've been looking at. Our marketing model is a little different. So we make sure that we're on the main strip with a fairly over-the-top exterior. So when people drive into these markets, there's either a 100-foot ape hanging from a building or a 60-foot stainless steel octopus. And so we garner their attention. That's our marketing plan. And as a result, we don't rely as heavily on having to bring people to a destination, unlike other places. So really right now for us, it's all about the digital because it allows us to maneuver. And as the markets come back, we can scale up really quickly.
And do you think there's obviously, as I think Terry mentioned earlier, visitors are keen to come back, but safety is of paramount importance too. So do you think marketeers should mention safety in the messaging as well as the sort of fun side of the attraction?
Yeah, so that's so it's really quite interesting actually. So we had a plethora of phone calls that we never had before because people are asking, do I need to wear a mask? Are people wearing masks? What are the rules? What are the COVID rules? And so we actually hired a central group of people that are taking all those calls in because we can't take that at the front desk anymore. So that's another point of outreach. It's amazing though also that we've had to meet all of our clientele in each of the forums they're in, whether it be Facebook, whether it be TikTok, whether it be wherever they are. We have to go out and meet them and inform them of that. It's amazing the amount of people that don't look at our website, that don't look at Facebook, and immediately just email us for these questions. So we have to be everywhere, and we had to hire a crew to be able to answer all those questions. So we now have an internal call center that deals with emails, that deals with Facebook comments, that deals with phone calls that I don't think is going to go away. We find that there's a real economies in there. So that's what we've kind of opened up over this COVID area. It's amazing the amount of calls and we've had. But I will tell you, err to being more careful as we roll out for two reasons. We don't want to see additional closures again, right? And the people that come are more concerned that it's safe for them and their families than those people that will be mad every now and then about having to wear a mask. I really believe that, and we've seen that in the numbers. We had, when we brought the mask mandate in, less than 1% of the people chose not to come into one of our attractions because we asked them to follow rules. But one of our number one questions, so it just, I know people will say, oh, they won't come in droves. Reality is less than 1%, and we're all through the middle of the U.S. So it's a little different than the coast, so it's different perception. And I'll tell you, it's really paid off. And also, we're very proud that not one of our team members got COVID from being on the job, which was really great as well. Because once it gets past our staff and throughout our staff, it's just really difficult to keep our doors open. So we're really proud of that as well.
Mm. Well, that's really encouraging, and I think it also, brings to mind how important the job of, the front of house staff is in an attraction, because they're not only welcoming people, but they're advising them on safety, and that's quite a tough task right now.
Yeah,
I think you have to use
walking. Yeah, so everybody looks happy all the time. So here's our Wax Museum face mask. So,
hey, you can good. I was saying, Charles, just briefly that I think you have to use humor. Yesterday, I flew Southwest from Orlando to Miami. Basically, the guy was joking, boarding, saying, you're going to have 2 warnings. First warning, put your mask on. Second warning. Third warning, you're walking to Miami. Everybody's laughing. And everybody sees that everybody else has a mask. It was not an issue at Andretti's. It was not an issue at Icon. So it's, as soon as everybody has a mask, it's not a problem.
And also, we've all seen in Asia, I mean, everyone's been wearing masks in Asia for years, haven't we? So people get used to it. Okay, cool. Next question is, this is from Pauline. Has anyone done any research from what the customer wants to have after COVID? So, Ted, do you want to take that one?
I think normalcy is the word. They want those same experiences they had before, and they're willing to incrementally do more things to be able to achieve those out-of-home experiences. So I don't think they don't want a lot more. They just want to get back to their regular life and be entertained and create memories with the family. That's what we're seeing over and over and over again.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
All right, good stuff. That's that one done. Next question is from Nathan. Have IPs, perhaps Terry, you can take this one. Have IPs lost some of their influence due to the new way that consumers now consume entertainment, i.e. home versus in a theatre?
No, I don't believe that they have. There's always a place for non-branded content. Parks and master plan designers come some wonderful storylines for attractions within parks and Vista experiences, and similarly, I think that there's an opportunity, as we've seen so successfully across the world, for IP still to lend their branding to some of the world's most amazing rides. not just limited to Universal Studios and Disney, but a lot of parks have really embraced IPs. So no, I believe that there is a place in the industry for both non-branded and IP branded media rides or other types of attractions to continue to be developed for the industry.
Cool. And Mathieu, what's your thoughts about that? The importance of IP, is it less important now post-COVID?
Oh, it's as important as it used to be, but as Terry said, it's you can have both. You can have IP branded content and non-IP branded content. But coming back to what Tej said, I think what we try to do is to sell fun and entertainment and experience. And it's true that you have to deal with the constraints of COVID, but it's, from my point of view, it's not something that you don't need to use your safety measures as a marketing angle, and it's not what you are going to sell. So you are going to sell your experience, and you are to sell fun, and that's it, whether it's IP branded or not. Because if you want to sell based on safety, then everybody goes to an hospital, and no, you won't do that, or you stay at home. So
fair enough. Good one. Now, the next question, I think this is probably best for Tej. When we're looking at staycations, are there observations on a radius, like perhaps the 100 to 300 kilometers from home, or more freedom countrywide? And how are observations regarding per caps developing now? So what is a staycation? How far are we talking about?
Yeah, right now we're seeing probably topping anywhere from a 3 to 6 hour drive radius from our different markets. And that's pretty consistent, both pre and post. Obviously, for example, the aquarium, we saw a lot more locals just wanting to do something on that Saturday. And so anything, they wouldn't stay in a hotel necessarily overnight, but they would drive the 2 hours. But I think, your 6 to 8 hour radius in the middle America is totally reasonable. So that's what we expect to reach out. But we're kind of reaching out to that 3 hours socially through social Facebook and the like. And the second part of that question, I apologize.
Yeah, that was what are your observations regarding per caps?
Oh, you know what? The same, if not better.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. So they really want the experiences. So we really have three main forms of per cap. It's our ticket, and then we have our gift shop, and then we have our photo op. And I think having a year off, just having that photo, for example, saying, hey, we actually did something in 2021 that we can showcase. People want that. And so don't underestimate the hunger for those types of things, those memories. Everybody wants to come out and do things. Just imagine everybody on this call, the first thing they probably want to do is go out and have dinner when it's safe, have a drink, go out to an experience. And that's just the whole population. I don't see we're not going to see a slowdown, and especially in the States, and I can only speak for the States, is we had a new round of stimulus that's really coinciding with the opening up of the marketplaces. I think that's going to be a huge factor, and that hunger to want to travel. So when everybody's going to feel it safe at different points of this year, but I think throughout this year, everybody will feel safe by the end. And so I think you're going to see that rolling success across the U.S. when it relies on domestic tourism. The unknowns of international tourism, we don't know yet, but domestic tourism, I think it's going to be very strong.
It's interesting you're seeing that people will pay extra for premium experiences. That's really interesting.
It's definitely not less. It's the same, if not more, before pre-pandemic.
Cool, right, good stuff. So our next question, this is one for Ernest, if you can take this one. Have Ernest or Terry offered cleaning solutions? Hang on, it's just been bumped up as I was talking. Have Ernest or Terry offered cleaning solutions to their clients within their theaters? And if so, what are they?
Yeah, so briefly, I mean, obviously we work with our clients. We're not a manufacturer of these kinds of solutions, but we've worked with our clients with certain practices. We've shared, a lot of our customers have shared practices. I mean, we're all in this together. Yesterday I was visiting Bob Space Racers, our good friends there, and they've developed machines that basically, so you can have Purell or whatever. So a lot of our customers have used these machines. So obviously people are very conscious. The important thing, I think, is to show it. Here in Florida, in the advertisements of Universal and all the local FECs, they always show people with masks and what's going to happen, just to make people feel safer and have them come. So yeah, that's part of the answer. I wanted just briefly to talk about, just comment on the IP, if you don't mind, 30 seconds. I think we've done a lot of IPs, Ghostbusters, Fear the Walking Dead, Ninjago, but I think it's important when you do local attractions, like what Tej is doing. He's developed, with us, his own IP with own movie, and now he's selling plushes, and people are attached to these local IPs, and they make, and thank you, Tej, for sending us boxes of your characters. That was, we really appreciate it. But I mean, it's a way to have people. I know local parks in Europe have done it, and it's another way of seeing IPs, to create your own IP. So,
I just to kind of jump onto that. People love great storytelling, period. And so whether it is a recognizable brand before you get into the park or the experience, or they're just introduced to it when they come in, as long as it's good storytelling and you commit to that story, right? Don't just bring in a character, but bring that character throughout the experience. You build on that experience. You're creating your own brand, albeit in an hour window. But there then is a bigger connection to that experience. So for example, we have Aquarius and Finn, our two main characters, the octopus and pufferfish, and they're introduced in our film. But then we also have experiences where you can find Finn throughout the, Aquarius, the octopus, camouflage throughout the experience. It creates another layer to the kids walking through the experience. And so you just build on that. But I think storytelling is key, whether it's an existing brand or one you develop.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. I'm going to start motoring through a few questions now, because we've got quite a few. So the first one here, this is probably a good one. Terry, you first on this one. Do you see any kind of pressure on payment terms from clients for your products and services? And if yes, how do you deal with that?
Well, last year, as I mentioned earlier on, that we were sort of part way through certain projects, and we worked with our clients to put them on hold until they were in a position whereby they wanted to restart those projects. Generally, on orders won in the recent months, no real changes, but of course, we're probably quite able to offer certain schemes for clients through UK government. They have UK Export Finance, which provides certain opportunities for purchase of equipment suppliers in the United Kingdom through export guarantee schemes, etc. But no, to be honest with you, I haven't found any change other than that, where we were able to support our clients with deferred payments during the pandemic.
Cool. And Mathieu, what are your thoughts about any sort of, obviously payment's been a big issue during the last year, and how's that worked with your clients?
Sorry, the question is for me?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so, have you seen any kind of pressure on payment terms from clients?
Honestly, we felt some pressure, unlike Terry. Our business model is a bit different because we sell many licenses to many clients around the world. So each license is is not such a big amount as what Ernest and Terry would sell, but we felt a pressure because some places had to close overnight, and they said, okay, like they called saying, sorry, but we have no money. So as I said previously, we tried as much as we could. We tried to accommodate our clients because with most of our clients, we have a long-term relationship. And we knew that if we give them a bit of credit, or if we give some extensions of licenses, we knew that they would come back to us, which happened. So we tried to be in a long-term relationship with our clients, but honestly, we felt a big pressure of payments.
And Ernest, your answer to that?
I mean, obviously, some projects were delayed, so we helped our customers in terms of financing. In Canada, we have EDC, Export Development Canada for exportation, which helps us. There's obviously a lot of government programs, but mainly we've tried to think about other ways to be able to help our customers. So for instance, instead of having a yearly license, we are now looking at having a pay-per-play. So, we share the risk with our customers, stuff we are developing right now and others have done already, monthly licenses, pay as you go, or, all you can eat, like Netflix. Basically, you pay a license, that's an idea, and you can have all of our movies. And companies like NWave have a very rich catalog of content and movie, and we work with them, we try to offer different solutions to our customers. In the end, it's all about customers coming in, having a great experience. Once they experience a great movie, the next thing they want to know is, do you have another movie I can try in the same theater? And that benefits all of us. So we just
totally.
Cool. Okay, good stuff. Next question is, I think this is one for Tej. When do you think owners will feel comfortable with stabilization of revenue models so they can begin greenlighting longer range future projects, those that were not yet in the process before COVID? So essentially, when can you start committing to long range projects?
So I can only speak for myself. When you're doing long-term projects, there's two facets. One, is it going to be financially feasible? And two, can we get our vendors that we work with and our partners to start working with us? We believe we're at that threshold as long as variants don't kind of sidestep the vaccine. We think we're at that threshold, and we think it's a good time to start engaging our partners, because I am hearing from a lot of our partners, whether it be theming, whether it be technology, that they're starting to get bookings from some of the bigger people such as Universal and Disney. And so we've already started to do that contracting to make sure we put ourselves in line, because I really believe that we're going to see another explosion in that realm. I think, unfortunately, there's going to be some vendors that didn't make it through the pandemic, and those that did are just going to have a ton of business that come out of this pandemic. So we're putting up money and making sure we're in the line to do the new developments. So I think now's the time. I really believe that, knock on wood. I could be wrong, but I think it's not a risky call right now to say, let's get going.
Cool. And next question is from Rebecca. She asks, what new sources of revenue have you pivoted to since COVID, and which ones will you continue to grow post-COVID? So perhaps, Mathieu, you can answer that one.
Yeah, what's a new source of revenue? So we launched a digital platform, which is a new business to us. So we'll see how it goes, but we are hopeful to get some revenues out of this. We try to be more flexible in terms of how we license our movies, flat deals, revenue sharing. We try to adapt ourselves and be closer to the reality of our clients, for sure. And yes, we try to think a bit differently about how we charge and how we license our content. Basically, that's what we did, and maybe focus on new geographies or new territories or new countries that we would not address as much as before. So we are going to do much more business with Asia for sure. And I think that, Terry, this is something that you are going to experience as well, but we see a shift of revenues towards Asia in what we do, clearly.
Cool. Okay. Another question. What differences are the panel seeing between geographic regions now and looking to the future post-COVID? So perhaps, Terry, you can answer that one.
Yeah, I guess, sure. So looking at the level of perhaps our most recent projects and the ones that we're working on over the course of the next 2 to 3 years, and where our inquiries are coming from, we're seeing continued strength from the Middle East, the Far East, China, of course. Definitely seeing Europe, some inquiries over the course of the last 3 to 4 months, and we're working on one big project in Europe at the moment. And I expect to see that to continue. I think that they're the areas where there's a lot of investment in new park projects over the course of the next 5 to 10 years. So that's particularly where the Far East, Middle East is where we expect to see a lot more demand. And we've invested in resources into those territories to try and accommodate from that potential demand.
How about you, Ernest? What do you see in terms of geographic regions?
Obviously, Asia is very strong. I think the vaccine is going to take a lot of time in some of these countries, but they had less. If you look at China, they had less of the COVID. That's the explanation I get. So for us, Asia is big. A lot of, I would say, 40% of our projects at least are in Asia. Korea, we have Japan, we have China, we have Indonesia, we have Vietnam. So a lot of projects. But you know what? I really like the American market. The US is very resilient. It turns around very quickly here. There's a lot of innovation, and people, like to enjoy themselves. I mean, I see it in Florida, but people, they like to drive, they like to try new things, they like to eat, they like to go out, and I see it here. I'm in the Florida Keys. The restaurants have been full. People are going to dive. People are coming because they cannot travel internationally. So I'm very bullish about the U.S. market. We have 3 major projects, tons of other smaller projects, and I'm very positive about the U.S. market as well.
Good stuff. We just got time for one final question. There are others, but this is with regard to the high street. With retail and malls being hit so hard by closures, does the panel see more entertainment and attractions making their way to some of these former retail areas? So perhaps, Ted, you could answer that one.
I think it's a fantastic question, and I've been on both sides of that argument, and it didn't just happen with the pandemic. I think you were seeing that movement of entertainment being brought into mall type environments. We haven't made that leap yet. I think that the size of our attractions maybe aren't a perfect fit for a mall environment. Whereas, for some of the theaters could really make sense in some of these environments. But I think, like, for example, our new entertainment complex, we wouldn't do a mall and do retail. We are 100% focused on entertainment because we think that food and entertainment is the way to go for the future. It's just, I don't know if I want to go into a mall just yet, because if the foot traffic's down, that goes against our model. But we are, we're small and we're really, practical on where we go next. We don't have to go everywhere. So that's still, I'm not 100% positive that that's absolutely a model that's going to happen. Although I know the malls really want entertainment in their facilities and are reaching out. So it just hasn't proven out to me yet that that's a successful direction.
Okay, cool. And I think, guys, we're out of time. That's our time. So thank you very, very much. Big thanks to our friends at Triotech and NWave for putting this together. Huge thanks to Tej and Terry for coming along and adding their expertise as well. Just a final note, here at blooloop, we've got our sustainability conference on April the 20th and 21st. So if you care for the environment, do come along to that. Obviously, if you don't bother. But that's on the 20th and 21st. And big thanks again to all our speakers. And yes, and this is available on the same link to watch again. And you can contact our speakers via that as well. So take care, and thanks for coming along.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Cheers.